guys. I'm emotional today. Like, I was crying a little bit, but not about my ex this time. And I was like, you know what? Let me vlog this too. So you guys can just see that I'm, one, just a crier, but two, I'm just so grateful right now. Like, I just feel so, I literally can't even find the words like to explain how grateful and thankful and blessed I currently feel, and how much praise I owe to God. You know, I have come so far, so far on my journey in life, in general, but also just like moving to Miami. I never really talked about like everything, but like when I first moved to Miami, I was so depressed. I actually did talk about it. I took down that video, but I talked about how depressed I was. I don't think to the extent of like, I was really depressed. I was in a really dark place. And you know, that's when I like found God. And I remember just one day I just literally got on my knees on my mattress, which my mattress was still on the floor, like literally on my knees, hands on mattress, and prayed. And I begged God for a career, for a change. And I promised that if he gave me a career and a new life, that I would never go back to my old life. And he did that. You know, a couple months after that, not even a couple months, I want to say a couple weeks after that, I had gotten reached out to by a recruiter for my current job, but like a couple of promotions ago. But she reached out to me and was like, hey, I think you qualify for this position. I think you should apply. Mind you, I was applying for mad jobs. Like, I have previous administrative experience, I have previous property management experience. Like, I've had real jobs before I moved to LA. And I was applying and nothing was clicking, and I was like getting really frustrated, and you know, and then I prayed that, and then they reached out to me with this position. And honestly, I remember I read the title and I was like, no way, because it was in a field that I had no experience in, and it just sounded like a little too complex. And I remember being on the phone with Molly, and Molly was like, girl, I think you should do that. Like, you should just apply. And so I applied, and I'm trying to make this story like short, but it's just a long story. I went through, I want to say 5 rounds of interviews, and I had started like in December, but because of the holidays and everything, I ended up not starting the job until February. And I started in February. I started the day before my birthday. And in the midst of that, I was very much struggling financially. Like, I was up for an eviction, like literally up for an eviction. And I was waiting for like that first check to pay my rent. And I think I was like trying to get like at that time there was like assistance from the county and I would have qualified because I wasn't employed at the time, blah blah blah. There was just so many factors and like the timing and everything, and I ended up getting evicted. I literally ended up getting evicted my first month at this job. And I, you know, it was such a good opportunity. I literally used to take the bus from like far. I lived in Doral at that time. I used to take the bus to a train and then like an hour train ride to get to work every morning. And it would take me like an hour and a half to get home at night too. Like I was making no money, but it was just like a foot in the door. And it was like a chance to change my life, right? Yeah, so I got evicted. No one knew. Literally no one knew. Till this day, no one knows unless they like watch this YouTube. And no one from my job knew I got evicted while working there. I remember I came home from work the first day I got my paycheck, and there was an eviction notice on my door that had 24 hours. But the check wasn't enough because of the way like the pay schedule went. So I like had no choice. And I remember like calling my sister crying and being like, what do I do? I have no money. I literally had like enough money for a freaking U-Haul, like barely that, because the check was only for like first couple of days. It didn't include like the actual weeks that I had worked. Yeah, so then I used my money, got a U-Haul. I remember my sister being like, you don't have anyone you can call for help. I had nobody who can call for help. Like my own aunts and uncles and cousins that live here like did not want me to come stay with them, which was like very like whatever kind of experience. Like that hurt. And I remember calling like one of my friends, TL, shout out to you, TL, and it was like, hey, like, can you help me get an Airbnb for like a month or whatever? Just need it like for a little while to like stack, because once like I would start getting paid I would be fine, but like it was just timing, right? And he was like, you can come stay with me for a couple of days while you figure it out. Like he had a big place with extra rooms, and he's like, while you figure it out. And I'm like, okay. I ended up staying with him for a month. He literally never asked me for a penny, never complained, never tried to like be more than friends with me, you know, like any of those things, which you would think if you're like living with a guy, like sometimes that's the case. Never. He was so respectful. I mean, he lived his own life. He was definitely partying, would have people over, and I would still get up every morning, walk, take the bus, take the train, everything, go to work and come back, go to work. Like I was very like locked in trying to find a place to live. I'm like, I'm homeless, but I need to keep this career. I had put all my stuff in storage. I'm rambling. Maybe I'll cut this shorter. But I stayed with him for like a month, and then I got, this should be my lore, honestly. I ended up finding a place, like a room with a roommate, which was a little bit closer to my job, but honestly it was in the freaking hood. Like it was in the hood. It was a gentrified house that she bought in the hood. I'm talking about like Liberty City hood. The room was so small. It was like bed. I could literally touch the wall. It was so close. Super cheap. I stayed there for almost a year and saved as much money as I could. Worked really hard and finally got a promotion, because like I said, the position I started in, I was making no money. I was making like none. Like in Miami, there was no money. I don't even know how I survived on that, and I was struggling, but I just put a smile on and went to work every day. And it was, that year was so crazy because I was still kind of like hanging out with people that were still like really outside, or like, you know, just in the lifestyle of before I found God, and they would kind of try to tempt me to make money fast ways, right? I didn't. As much as I wanted to, in situations where I was struggling and I was like really like getting discouraged, to be so scared waking up every morning, walking the streets at like 4 in the morning to get to the train to go to the gym before I go to work, because I was just so committed to that lifestyle. And I would just tell myself that like this was the season God had me in, and like, you know, no matter what, I made that promise to him and I can't go back. And so as much as people would try to tempt me or convince me to do these things, I would be like, no. Like, I asked God for a career and he gave me a career, and maybe the career isn't where I want to be yet, but like there's so much peace in waking up every day and not having to pretend that you like a man for him to pay your bills, or having to talk to someone that you don't like for them to pay your bills, or having to do anything that you don't actually want to do just to pay your bills. There's so much peace in not having to do those things that I would never go back. Okay, fast forward. I then move out of that situation and move into an apartment, which was even nicer. It's closer it's in like a super nice neighborhood. Cool. Things are great. I'm saving money. I loved my roommate in the beginning. We went to the same church. I met her through church. Things were cool. Everything was great. I went through a year of celibacy. I had my promotion at work. Like, things were going really good. I ran my marathon. Boom. I come home from my marathon, and me and my roommate, like, it was just like a switch flipped. Like, she was a whole different person. We got into a really petty argument about a Ring camera. My Ring camera, she like took it off when I was traveling. I don't even want to go into detail about that, because that situation was very, very hard for me to like live with someone that you're like constantly fighting with. And like, the girl literally like put a lockbox on the AC so that I couldn't use AC. Actually, screw all this. Like, I don't even want to talk about the Lord. I just want to talk about how I worked really, 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 really hard to get to where I am. I try my hardest to be humble and be kind, and to just put my head down and work. You know, sometimes I think that I obviously don't make as much as I deserve, but I don't have a degree. I also look the way that I look. There's stereotypes, blah, blah, blah. I have tattoos. You know, there's a lot of forces against me in the corporate world, and I just take it on the chin and work hard and show people who I really am. And, you know, prove myself. And prove that I deserve to be in these spaces and in these rooms, and that I belong here. I'm so sad. Like, it's like I want to cry because I've worked so hard. Right now, to have, you know, I was applying for one position just on the senses of like, I need more money. I'm exhausted from working 2 jobs, and I feel like, you know, I do this role already. Like, I deserve more money, and my department at the moment just wasn't capable of giving it to me. And then in the midst of that, I applied for another position, and I applied for that position like shooting for the stars. You know, like, I knew I could do it, but I think it's a role that is so life-changing, career-changing, and that I'm like, I would have to for sure prove myself, because at at this institution, I'm only 2.5 years in. Like, I don't have it under my belt. They usually want people with 7, 8 years at the institution, like all those things. And so I just applied with a little bit of faith. And I mean, the little bit of faith was like literally the size of a mustard seed. And I didn't think anything of it. And the VP of HR called me. Not only did she call me, we had my interview, and she told me that, you know, she's rooting for me. She wants me to get this position. And not only, and so it's like right now I currently have 2 opportunities. Like, the other one, they want me to, and then I really want this one. And it's just like, to be in the position to have 2 offers, 2 opportunities, and one of them being something that you thought was out of reach. And when I mean, like, I thought it was so far out of reach, and then to see that there are people rooting for me, and these are people that I've only worked with indirectly, and just based off of like my work ethic. Like, she texted me today. This is the VP of HR for a really, really big, I work for a huge company, like huge. So just to even be considered for this role is just a blessing, you know. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm just so proud of myself. I'm just really, really proud of myself. I'm just really, really, really proud. And I wish I could hug that girl from 3 maybe going on 4 years ago, when she first moved into Miami. And she wanted to quit. And I mean, she wanted to quit life. Like, she didn't want to be here anymore. She hated herself. Yeah, I just want to hug her. I just want to hug her. I guess hug myself. Because it's like, you can change your life. I've done it so many times, actually. So many times. It's just this, yeah, like, just, I've literally done it so many times. But you can change your life. You can start over. You know, even with going back to school, this career opened that door for me too. You know, I had my son at 18, and I threw away that dream of school. I was like, I'm a teen mom. I'll never be able to go to college. I'll never be able to afford it. I'm a single teen mom. I literally never even thought of it again. It was just like, it's never gonna happen, you know? And I think that's what's so, when they say like God will redeem you, like God will give you back the things that you've lost. In even better ways. And I'm just, even if I don't get the job, which I really think I will get the job, I'm just proud of myself. I'm just really, really proud of myself that, like, we made it here. And even if I don't get that role, it's like, you're 2 years into this industry, brand new, no experience, and you're being looked at and considered for this role. That is a big deal. That is a big deal, Rebecca. Because sometimes being the bigger person, sometimes choosing the right path, sometimes being the loving one, you know, like, all of those scenarios, being the bigger person and doing the right thing or choosing the right path, or it's hard. Wow, it's 444. That's like, I just lit up. That's my number. But it's hard, and you don't always see the rewards of it right away, you know? And but it does pay off. It does get you far, and it does pay off. Maybe not in the second that you want it, but it does pay off, you know. The love you put out, it does come back, maybe in a different way, a different season, a different opportunity. But being a good person gets you, it's the right way to go. And I'm just so thankful for God and his grace, and for the redemption of my life, and for walking beside me and carrying me in seasons when I wasn't even talking to him. You know, like, I was a mess, like literally a mess. And one of the prayers that I always pray is like, God, when you do it, make it so that there will be no question that it was from you. Like, when people look at my life and see the dramatic changes and the different things that I've accomplished, and the mountains that have been moved, I hope that they know that it is all by the grace of God. That none of this is in my strength. It is all by the grace of God. It is all by the grace of God. Okay, that was my really, really long just moment. But I wanted to share that because I cry about everything else on here. Let's cry about something good, you know.